The movie starts with an assassin named John Wick preparing to seek revenge against the High Table in New York City while he is sheltering underground for a time to recover his injury with the help of a friend by the name of Bowery King. Bowery King brings the special black bulletproof suits and he is ready to start. Instead of beginning in New York, he travels to Morocco and hunts down the newly replaced elder in order to restore his excommunication. That elder offers to take off the price tag from John's head in return for his ring finger. Now that the old elder has been replaced, John is back in the desert and prepared to seek his ring and freedom by it. John has no intentions to harm the new elder, but he refuses to return the wedding ring the former elder took. This new elder tells John that he won't experience peace until he is dead since he lacks the ability to read the desert, and he says he came all the way for nothing, but John disagrees. John then shot him in the head as a result of their conversation. The High Table designates the New York Continental for annihilation and gives Winston, who is the manager of the hotel, 1 hour to meet the high member of the High Table by the name of Marquis de Gramont. Marquis de Gramont, who is a very arrogant, tyrant and an ambitious man. Marquis says that John Wick can be killed with no constraint on resources because of the High Table. He criticizes Winston for helping John Wick instead of killing. Marquis punishes them by executing Karen, who is the New York hotel's concierge, and destroys the Continental. Winston and Karen say goodbye very sadly in a tearful manner of friendship. The cunning Marquis de Gramont coerces the blind assassin who named Cain into serving the High Table. Cain will go to any lengths, including killing an old friend, to protect his daughter. John Wick's old friend Cain is a highly skilled assassin who, although being blind, is possibly the best at his trade in the art of death. However, Cain's sight impairment is not a natural trait, rather, it is a punishment for a life of evil. He made a fatal pact with the High Table and paid a hefty price for it, giving up his sight to them in order to preserve his daughter. But now he must do it again by facing his old friend John Wick. He refuses to take the job by explaining he is a retired man and he has no use for the table anymore, but Marquis disagrees. Marquis tells him to think about his daughter, so he is pushed to accept the service. John Wick goes to Japan to meet his old friend Shimazu Koji to seek shelter on the Osaka Continental. A trucker by the name of Mr. Nobody with his dog already arrived at the Continental to find his prey for a good price. Koji's daughter Akira is the Osaka Continental concierge. Koji hasn't told Akira about the appearance of John Wick at the Osaka Continental yet, and he is well aware that John Wick's appearance is a big risk for the hotel and his family. Koji is pleased to see his old friend John Wick, and he tells him that Marquis executed Karen and burned down the New York Continental in response to killing the elder in Morocco. John worried about Winston, but Koji responded that Marquis let him live. John feels sorry for putting his Continental in risk, but Koji says he believes more in brotherhood. Blink of an eye, she decides and orders to evacuate the Kant family. Shimazu Koji tells his soldiers to get ready for good hospitality for their unwanted guests. They rush to get their weapons and make themselves ready for the big day. Shimazu will be shocked to see his old friend on the other side, but he knows the table can change any associate from friend to enemy quickly. Unbeknownst to Shimazu, Cain is a victim of a situation like Koji himself, is attempting to preserve his daughter's life. As they argue, Cain serves as a reminder of how far Koji has wandered from the road of devotion and brotherhood. Cain tries to leave the fight with Koji because he is after John, but Koji's determination to keep going to the very end gives John time to flee, which results to fight his old associate. Koji tries to stop them, but he understands that it will be logical to fall back and defend. There are so many with much more professional assassins. Too much damage on Koji's side as their men get weaker and so many are already killed. The blind assassin wants to have some Japanese food before he starts to fight as Chitty shouts at him to do his job. At some point he uses the doorbells to locate the enemy to kill them easily. Akira gets shot while Koji rushes to her. When John is leaving, Shimazu asks for a small favor from him and that he must kill as many as he can. John accepts, shows respect and leaves there. A lot of High Table assassin with the full bulletproof body cover comes after John, but John is the better one, consistent and man of focus. John defeats hordes of armored assassins, setting up a confrontation with Cain. Prime, the blind assassin, is determined to kill him in order to save his daughter's life and invites John to finish this here right now, as John agrees with him. When two friends try to kill each other, a bounty hunter named Mr. Nobody breaks up their altercation and helps John flee. Mr. Nobody decided the reward for John's death was insufficient. He helped John, so the price for his head goes up and then he will kill him by himself. Mr. Nobody wants a much higher price for the John Wick's head. High Table higher the price tag for John Wick's head up to $20 million, but Mr. Nobody still is not satisfied. That's why he let John Wick go. Kane asks Shimazu, his old associate, for the location of John Wick in exchange to let him live and go somewhere far away, but Shimazu is loyal to Mr. Wick and refuses. Shimazu's response to Kane: "You already know I would not do such a thing," and they fight each other. Kane can identify with Koji's grieving daughter Akira because they are all connected by blood to this terrible fate. He is aware that the hunter will ultimately become the prey, that Akira will want retribution for her father's passing, and that Kane will be waiting for him. Akira meets John at the train and tells him that his father's death is his fault and John is very sorry about it. Akira says goodbye to Mr. Wick and leaves. The bounty hunter Mr. Nobody wants to meet with Marquis to offer a higher price for hunting down Mr. Wick. Marquis thinks Mr. Nobody has a high confidence to come and offer him his price, so he accepts, but before he makes sure that he knows who he is dealing with. When John gets back to New York, he runs into a furious Winston at Karen's tomb. Winston suggests that John use an antiquated high table custom to issue a dueling invitation to the Marquis. John can only ask for a duel on behalf of a criminal organization, but winning would release him from all commitments to the high table. In order to participate in the duel, Mr. Wick had to rejoin his family, the Ruska Roma, his ticket for help. He makes his way to the Ruska Roma crime syndicate's Berlin headquarters to make a readmission request after severing his links with them. Katya, John's adoptive sister, demands that John assassinate Killa Haken, a high table member who murdered her father, in order to be admitted again. Killa is confronted by John at his club. Killing Killa is not easy work to get done, especially at his club. It literally sounds like madness, but John Wick must do it anyway to get the trust of his old family in order to be able to make the duel. He is the man of focus and persistence. When a fight breaks out, Kane and Mr. Nobody helps John beat off Killa's goons. John eventually kills Killa and takes his tooth as proof and reclaims his status. Now John is a member of the family and can challenge the Marquis as per rules to a duel. The formal challenge from John is announced by Winston to the Marquis. Winston suggests that the New York Continental be rebuilt, and that if John wins, he be given the position of management once more. Marquis doesn't seem to be happy with the duel, but Winston informs him that it is based on the high table rules and he has no choice but accept the challenge. The Harbinger, one of the high table members, will preside over the duel. John and Marquis will meet to decide the regulations. Each party negotiates the terms by expressing what they want, then turning over a card to reveal the player with the highest value. The conditions are set in this manner. There will be no mercy in this handgun battle. Additionally, the Marquis declares Kane the blind assassin to be his messenger. It has been decided that the duel will take place at Sacré-Cœur in Paris at sunrise and that dueling pistols will be used. If John prevails, Winston will be released from the high table, receive the Continental back and have it repaired, and no longer be subject to excommunication, and John Wick will be free. De Gramont, however, has no intention of permitting John Wick to enter the duel if he is not on time at the decided place. As a result of that, Winston will be killed as John's second. The Marquis cleverly designates Kane to fight John in his place. Kane must reluctantly accept the choice made for him because he is bound by the agreement he made. Given that one of them would die in the duel the following day, it is only fitting that the two friends meet there. It almost seems as though they are looking for redemption for a life lived in sin. Kane informs John that, to him, the decision between his life and the life of his daughter is clear-cut, although he regrets that it had to come to this. Their brief conversation reveals an underlying understanding, respect for one another, and a lifetime of remorse. Later in the evening, Bowery King pops up in the Paris underground with a neatly pressed bulletproof suit and a favorite pistol for John to do battle in practically at a moment's notice. Marquis is determined to do whatever it takes to prevent the sexiest, smartest and focused assassin of all time, Mr. John Wick, from being at Sacré-Cœur on time, which is by sunrise. What he does is he tells the Parisians through the radio that if anyone hunts down John Wick until sunrise, he will be given $26 million. Everyone is surprised and excited by the price tag on John Wick's head. They rush to find the best weapon to hunt down Mr. Wick to get rich by the sunrise. Everywhere, people waiting for John show up, and John Wick is alone by himself. Bowery King and Winston follow him underground to a nearby church, where he should go from there to Sacré-Cœur by himself. At the last moment of goodbye to his friends, he says that he always wanted to be a loving husband. And he leaves to get to the place before sunrise. DJ mixes cheeky tracks to soundtrack the countless battles for John Wick's life, in between sending a horde of would-be Wick killers away from John Wick's location. They reveal John's location by the radio every time they spot him. With a $26 million bounty on John, the Marquis wants to keep him from getting to the combat on time. On his way to Sacré-Cœur, John battles swarms of assassins, including Mr. Nobody, who negotiates an increase in the bounty to $40 million. When John Wick saved his dog's life instead of shooting at him, he was shocked. Then, out of appreciation, he gave up for the money to defend Mr. Wick. The DJ mixes cheeky tracks, playing a very interesting rule to keep all killers hungry and interested to kill Mr. Wick. Quote from the radio: "However, we have to wonder if this is a service designated for Mr. Wick only while he is at the Arc de Triomphe, or if it is something that all assassins receive. Who else is playing frequently on the playlist? Killing by death? A common foe?" And on and on. The 222 steps in Montmartre are where John Wick encounters difficulty. He struggles to climb them before being knocked down and down and down. Fortunately, Kane shows up to assist him. After all, he can only secure his freedom and the protection of his daughter if John makes it to the duel. They struggle their way back up the steps and make it to Sacré-Cœur just in time for sunrise. Now the duel starts on time by the sun rising up. The Harbinger, one of the High Table members, will preside over the duel. They both will have to use a gun with a bullet at a time from 30 yards in the first round. The next round will be the same but 10 yards near, and the third one too. The Harbinger says fire and they shoot at each other. After 2 rounds of combat, John and Kane exhausted one another. When Kane seriously wounds John. But as the 2 killers draw nearer to one another, John seems to decide to give himself up for Kane. In the final round, Wick doesn't fire, but Kane does, and his bullet hits John in the side. Regret, knowing this might be their final farewell. The Harbinger confirmed the fulfillment of all those conditions and left there. Winston agrees to escort John home after Kane, a free man, departs from the dueling arena. John partially descends the stairs of Sacré-Cœur, sits down, in a very beautiful sunrise, alone like always, but this time is a little bit different. He knows this long way finally came to an end, so he thinks of his beloved wife, says her name, and slowly passes away. Winston wrote as John wanted the sentence of loving husband. Winston says good boy to John Wick by calling him my son. What you think if John Wick is dead or not? Please share your opinion below in the comment, and special thanks for watching.